Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this October 31st, 2016 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my show every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Time. They also play the show at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. And if you can't get it there, go to my long-standing website at arcticbeacon.com, arcticbeacon.com. You can get shows going back over a decade regarding what I call most of the things that I talk about, the Vatican-led New World Order. Okay, today is part 20, I believe 20, of what I call the greatest off-Broadway play ever presented in the history of mankind, the 2016 presidential elections. And folks, what a show it is. I've been reviewing this movie for the past, God knows how many months, and watching one of their better stage performances put on in the last, what I call the last 30 years. It's a good one. And the reason I say it's a good one is because it's all fake. Yeah. And if you can understand that, well, then you can get to the real problems. But you have to watch these actors at work. And, I admire the screenwriter, Jesuits, for putting together one of their better performances. Yep. One of their better writing performances. They have everything in this one. They have sex, they have corruption, they have a billionaire lead actor who seems to say anything he wants. I mean, he just stole the show, really. I mean, you never know what the guy's going to say. And a lot of people like it. And then you got the old hag actress coming back for her last stand. And boy, has she been thrown over the coals this time. I don't know. I'm privy to, being a longtime movie reviewer of the Vatican-led New World Order, I've been privy to a lot of inside information. Now, when I was in Rome working, I wanted to sneak into the Vatican archives to find out what really they've written for us in the future, but I could never get in there. They guard their movie scripts. And I'll tell you what, I was privy to one just the other day. Yep, privy to one the other day, and I can't tell you where I got it because that is a national security. You can't violate national security unless you're Hillary Clinton, and I don't want to do that. But anyway, I have to tell you, so this is strict anonymity. I have to tell you, I'm almost going to whisper it. Should I whisper it? And then maybe you'll understand how important it is. I know what they're going to do in the future. I've got their script into the future. Yes. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be quite interesting. Regardless of who they show wins this election, we got an election coming up in a week, right? Regardless of who wins, people are going to be vastly disappointed, whether it's Trump or Clinton, in the future of America. Because I got the script where it says there ain't going to be an America in 15, 20 years. No. They've got an unusual plan. And no matter who gets in there, it's going to work for them. And that's the information I got. You're probably going to say, well, give us some more, give us some more, give us some more. Well, let me tell you this. It ain't pretty. Now, just hold that thought for a minute. Because let me put on my legal cap for a minute. Now, if you're living in a different world, or you're not paying attention to the elections, then you probably will. I bet you there's probably a few people will understand what I'm trying to say. On Friday, a bombshell came up. Boy, they hit this thing big. And the FBI director, who should have prosecuted Clinton way back in July when he laid out a prima facie case is that she violated national security laws by being grossly negligent or extremely careless. And this created an uproar in the FBI, and finally, Mr. Comey, who's the director, had a revolt going on inside. His FBI agents were furious. He had all the evidence to indict Clinton, and he didn't because he played the political game with the Clintons. Maybe he didn't want to get killed. I don't know. How do you kill an FBI director? I think Clinton's one of the only, Bill Clinton's one of the only ones that fired an FBI director. Right, it was the day before Vince Foster was killed. That's quite interesting. But anyway, so Comey was, between a rock and a hard place. And so Friday he came out and said, we've reopened this investigation of Clinton's emails. And we've got 650,000 emails now regarding what could be national security violations. Now this created an uproar. Oh boy. Trump, of course, is using it as a free ride into the White House, and Clinton is now calling foul. She's saying, you have to be transparent and tell the American people what's in those emails. Do you have anything? And I said this, why don't you tell us? That's how good this story gets. These writers are getting really good. So I said, why don't you tell us, because you started this whole thing with your illegal server. That put a lot of people in jeopardy. And the only thing I always point out when you're reviewing this movie, it's different than the ones I go to and review in Hollywood. Because, you go in there, you watch a movie, and you leave the movie theater, and none of that stuff really happens right. But in this movie, they've turned it into kind of a reality show. And the reality is people actually do die. And people get affected. For example, when you're watching all of this stuff go on, their policies actually affect people. How about the people that are not getting medical care anymore because of Obamacare, where the rates have gone up 116% in Arizona, and the national average is double digits, even 20, 30, 40% higher, plus deductibles at $14,000, $15,000. Why get medical insurance? But this is the plan they have in the future of basically the government providing socialized medical care, which to me is ridiculous because you'll get lousy care. Most doctors don't like it. And they've taken away your choice, which is really what they want. But these are some of the elements that make this movie a little different because you actually do get affected. So people ask me, well, Greg, what's your role in this? I said, look, I'm a movie reviewer. And what's my role, my listeners would say? And I'd say, you're an extra, most likely. You're an extra in this movie, and I say you demand your $100 a day for playing a part in this movie. And try to stay out of harm's way, because they will kill you if you get in their way. And maybe, that's the big play they had. That's the big scene that I saw they wrote for the upcoming years, and that's this huge world conflict. Oh, they've got everything. They've got guillotines ready, and they're really using beheadings as a signal of what they really want. Because beheadings throughout the course of history has been used by the Vatican and the Jesuits to signify what they really want to do to you, and that's shed blood. And beheadings are the reason you see it in ISIS now. They're the ones who created. They've done it all. What about the French Revolution? They've used this all the time, and now in their next in the scenes to come, the years to come after this presidential election is over, we've already known they're stockpiling guillotines in this country, and it's amazing. That's going to be a really bloody scene for them. Boy, that's going to be an interesting one when they roll out World War III. They've had a couple of them in the past, big ones, but they've had wars. Our country has been at war since we were formed, all but 20 years. So what else is new? All right, so my little spiel on the elections today is that they've brought in all of these elements in this movie that are so interesting. We got sex, we got the transgender issue of Michelle Obama. They haven't brought this stuff up. But this is the stuff behind the scenes. And that makes for even a better movie, because what's really even better than a Hollywood movie? It's going to the National Enquirer, or it's all the gossip that you read about all the actors. Don't tell me that people in America, when they see an Angela Jolie movie, they're more interested in Angela Jolie's sex life with her husband, or the affairs she's having. And so we have that in this election process. The Clintons, Trump, all of these people. Sex abounds. And one of the great scenes of this movie was the recent Al Smith dinner. That's where the candidates get together with the Vatican in the Waldorf Astoria in New York for this big, huge celebration dinner, and they make fun of each other. And one sits on the right hand of the Cardinal Dolan now in New York. The other sits on the left hand. And then they probably all go out and party and laugh at us because they know what's happening. So one person's going to take the fall. One person's going to be in office. And they already got it planned out. And I say you'll be disappointed no matter who gets in, because they're going to reach their New World Order agenda one way or the other. Okay, I'll get back to this in a minute. But I had to tell you, I struggled today with even doing the show, because I have to admit, I've got what's called movie reviewer fatigue. I've been watching this thing and trying to make some sense out of it for the listener, and to show you that the things that you're hearing from the mainstream media and most of the alternative media is the projection or the movie they want you to hear. Behind the scenes is where the real story is. And so, knowing that, I'm constantly getting mixed up in the head. I'm going, okay, this is what they tell me, this is what the Jesuits are doing behind the scenes. And so I reached a point where my brain was like, ooh, I think I need a break. So I turned to my first alternative, baseball. And guess what? I couldn't even watch that either, because the Cubs were losing the World Series again. And I said, I can't stand this. Every time, we're losing our country. I've been wanting the Cubs to win the World Series since I've been a kid, and now we're losing, so I couldn't watch it. No, I had to turn it off. So what did I do? I started to look for the biggest diversion I could find. And I turned on one of my favorite comedy shows. I can play, I got on-demand TV, so I can go back and get all the episodes of a show that I like. And I did that, completely brainless, all weekend. Yeah, I had to do it. I mean, everything was piling up. We're talking about freedom of religion. I'm trying to make people aware that a Christian pastor named Tony Alamo was put in jail for 175 years for crimes he didn't commit, and we got a petition going, and people are calling me, and all of this stuff going on, and I see, so I go out. This is before I started watching the movie, my diversion, my favorite comedy show. I went out that day, and I started talking to people again, and I started realizing they don't care. Everybody I met. Some days I get out and I meet some people that care. This day I must have met everybody in the world that didn't care about anything. I mean, I'd say to them something like, I don't know, something about, do you realize that Christians are being persecuted in this country? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, maybe when I said that, I was like, okay, let me talk about something more important. Are you catching any fish today? A guy was fishing off the dock. And he said, no, I'm trying to get a new hobby. And he said, I always wanted to learn how to fish. So I started thinking, how come I've never had any hobbies? I'm very bad at hobbies. I've tried many. And every time I try them, I don't like them. One person tried to get me to be a golfer. So I went out one day and I said, okay, maybe I'll take up golf. And one time around the course, I said, I'm not chasing this little ball around. I'm not doing it. It's a crazy hobby. And I mean, I can go on and on with every hobby I've tried. I don't have hobbies, So anyway, I'm looking for diversions. And finally, I came back, gave up, and said, okay, I'm just going to watch these programs all night. So then I get up this morning, and I'm going, what am I going to do on my show? I have to get serious because this is a serious matter. This movie is really covering up a lot of the things that we need to know, which I will do in the second half hour. But I said I got to clear my mind of all these things going through it, important things that are bothering me. And because now thinking that I'm just thinking about diversions. I'm tired of the movie. I'm tired of, watching people go to jail. I'm tired of people getting there, like the Lamo children getting taken away from their families and no one listening. I'm fed up with it, right? And I have a reason to be. So that's the way I felt. And so I started thinking, when my mind gets to that point, here's what I do. I start thinking of every little stupid law I could break. That's, of course, not going to offend anybody, hurt anybody, like jaywalking at 5, 6 in the morning. I don't know. I like breaking parking meter laws. I don't particularly like parking meters. So I'll try to do that for a while. It makes me feel good. Sometimes I even park my car in a handicapped spot. And then I limp out. Like I got a bad knee or something. And people say, well, you can't do that. I said, well, I have to at least break 5 stupid laws. Now, people say, well, that's not a stupid law. I said, well, I've been driving by that handicap spot for 5 years, and I never see anybody there. There's no one there. I think they have too many spots. I think there's too many spots. There's not as many handicapped people as we think. Now, I think a person that's handicapped should have this, but it's never used. So I just think it's occasionally I'm going to go in there, take 5 minutes, and leave. Okay. So today, when I got tired of thinking of all the stupid laws I could break that shouldn't be on the books, I walked in. You ever go into a public bathroom and they got these hand machines that you put your hand under it and it magically comes out the paper, the towel you need, the paper towels you need. Now, back when I first went into public restrooms, you had a little crank, you crank out, you pull it out, you're in control of it. I go in there and I put my hand under there. Now my hands are soaking wet and nothing came out. So now, what are you going to do? Okay, so I went back, and then as I'm walking away, it came out. I didn't do anything. So I go and pull it out. Okay, clean my hands, and then try to get more. Because now my face is, I wanted to wash my face. It wouldn't come out again. So now I'm walking around with a wet face. And as I walk 5 steps away, now I'm thinking, well, should I go and use the toilet paper? Is toilet paper okay to wash your face with? I mean, it's paper. Nobody's used it yet as toilet paper. I guess it's just the word. I've never been very politically correct. So as I was going to do that, yes, I was, it came out again magically. And I'm going, okay, who's playing this game with me now? So I finally took it, washed and get the heck out of that bathroom. But that's, I'm thinking now, God, everything we do is mechanical now. Pretty soon we're not even, did you hear, because of Obamacare, all the restaurants now, they don't want to hire people to work because it's too expensive. They want to have these automated places to eat. So you're not even going to be able to talk to a waiter anymore. So then I'm walking out, And I wanted to tell somebody what happened to me in the restroom. So I meet this stranger. Now, here's another thing I thought about. How come it's so hard to meet people? You know, I never can meet anybody. And I think it's because strangers have got a bad rap. They're not liked. Strangers are not liked. And I think a few strangers have given us, all of us strangers, a bad way. I want to go out and meet, but I can't meet anybody. So I finally meet somebody today. And I start talking about what happened to me in the bathroom. I said, this is ridiculous. Wouldn't you rather have one of the hand crankers? You know, let's go back to doing stuff ourselves. And the person starts looking at her phone. And I'm talking and she's looking at her phone. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to carry a newspaper with me all the time. And when somebody starts talking to me, I'm going to put the newspaper up in front of my face and start reading it. Now, isn't that the same thing? It's rude. When someone's talking to you, don't even shut your phone off. That's another thing I was thinking about. Now, you could see I was having, then I started thinking, do you realize they've got a car now? I was watching this the other day. And have you ever, you go into a parking lot and you have to get into the bank or somewhere quickly, but you don't want to look for a parking space. They've got a car now where you get out of the car, you go in, and it finds its own parking place. Yeah. I'm going, that is never going to happen to me. Never, never, never. What happens if it doesn't find a spot and it just keeps going around and around and around and around? I can't find my car when I get out. Or what happens if it hits a dog? Or does it know the difference between a dog and a piece of paper in the street? I don't know. But I'm surely not going to leave it up to that machine. I don't care how sophisticated we get. People say, you got to go to these cars that have no driver. It's safer. I go, what are you talking about? Can you imagine pulling up at a stoplight and you look over, there's nobody in the driver's seat? Who the hell are you going to give the finger to if the horn goes off? Just joking. But anyway, these are the things that happen to you when you get stressed out in life. When things don't seem to be moving, like your country's going to hell in a handbasket. The Cubs are losing the World Series. You can't even get a little victory in this world anymore, at least if you're from Chicago this week. Plus, you top that off with this election, with this movie that I'm reviewing, which gets crazier and more insane as the days go on. You hear things like one of the actresses, Hillary Clinton, saying, we need to be more that FBI director, because he came out against me, we need to be more transparent. I'm going, what are you talking about? You're the one that caused this whole thing. You haven't told us the truth ever since you started this movie 30 years ago. So you can see where I'm coming from. But the good thing is, I've got it off my chest, and now I am going to present to you in the next half hour some of the things that aren't told in this movie that should be. And you're going to find it quite interesting. And it's not just all about sex and crime and all that stuff. A lot of things going on that never have been told to the people because it's all locked up in that Vatican vault. Okay, we're going to come back in 3 minutes on this investigative journal. And can I break? What am I going to do in this break for 3 minutes? I don't know. We'll be back 3 minutes on the investigative journal.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. And this is part 20 of the greatest off-Broadway stage play ever produced in the history of mankind, the 2016 presidential elections. Thanks for indulging me in a few diversions in the first half hour. So I want to get to some things a little bit more serious this half hour, but I did say right before the break, what am I going to do during the break? So I, as a conscientious movie reviewer, turned on the TV, and there was a Hillary Clinton, the actress, performing for the Democratic Party and their Jesuit writers, did a little commercial, and she's on there looking really nice, smiling. She goes, "What is going to be different in my presidential election?" She says, "I've dedicated my whole life to children and women, and it's going to be a beautiful place." And I started thinking to myself, boy, this is rich. This is really rich. When Hillary Clinton was a prosecutor, she worked as a public defender. She represented a man clearly that violated. He raped a 12-year-old girl, and basically the evidence was overwhelming, and she got him off on a technicality. Well, she also berated the 12-year-old girl, saying that the 12-year-old girl was a sexual predator, that she constantly asked for it. Now, she laughed about it even later. So this is the same woman. This is how they work in the acting profession. They can play both parts pretty well. So if you're going to believe anything they say, please come to me. If you want to buy some real estate or something, please come to me, because I tell you what, it's very, very rich. Okay, enough of that. Still reviewing this election. We'll get to that in a minute. But I did receive an email from a friend of mine named Robbie that reminded me of something today. And Robbie also helped me with the petition site, or the website, Free Tony Alamo, and I really appreciate it. He's a good guy, helped me a lot on it. And, oh, by the way, somebody emailed me and said, why can't I get into the store? And I said, I don't know what happened. I'm going to have to put the store back up, and I'm trying to do that now, so we will do that. So no problem. Not many people are buying anything anyway. But anyway, I was going to get a dog shirt that said Free Tony Alamo on it. So here we go. I want to get that up, but you know, I'm technically challenged in many of the. I get very frustrated trying to do these computer programs. I don't know why. Maybe it's I came from a period of time. Most of my formative years, we didn't have computers. And so this is still a little new for me. But anyway, he sent me this email. He said, Happy Reformation Day. Okay. And he said, what a blessed day, dear Protestants. Happy Reformation Day. And thank you, Jesus, for Martin Luther and those Protestants who stood for the truth and brought the Word of God to the lowly and lay people like us, standing against the Roman Catholic Antichrist beast. Okay. Then I started thinking, that's a great message. Okay, then I started thinking, wait a minute, isn't today Halloween? And I said, well, how come Reformation Day falls on Halloween? It doesn't make sense. And I started thinking, well, what are people going to be doing on Reformation Day? Most people are going to be thinking about, you know, stupid costumes, stuff like that. So it presents a dilemma for me. And I imagine a dilemma for Protestants as well. I mean, whatever. I'd like to get to the bottom of this. And you know, when I see what's going on Halloween, it's one of the most pagan celebrations in our history. That's I did many shows on. It reveals satanic rituals played out in trick-or-treating, jack-o'-lanterns, wishes, ghosts, and it is the most celebrated. Most celebrated holiday in our country. And, you know, it talks about the dead and on. And if you ever get the chance to research of any of these Halloween practices, you'll see they have a satanic background from the Celtic tribes of Scotland and Ireland. So, what should we do? Should we not forget about it? Nah, I think we ought to use it to our advantage. Right. If we're going to, look, you're not going to change. I remember when I first started doing shows about these pagan holidays, Christmas, I tried to change people's minds about it. And I would always ruin their holiday. I did it once in my family, and I said, I'll never do that again. Because they don't believe me and they want to have fun on this day. So, okay. So, what can you do on Reformation Day? Which, is a serious, it's a really great day to celebrate. But you're getting overwhelmed by these pagans, right? But if you try to tell them that, people are going to turn you off. So I think what you do is you dress up like the characters of the Reformation. Like, do you know any of them? John Calvin, Martin Luther. Oh, there's so many others we could find. Maybe somebody could, And then when people say, well, what are you talking about? You can then explain to them what this day really means. So I just got that thought today about how we can make Martin Luther, Calvin, John Knox, others, how we can make an impact on this pagan holiday instead of, like I tried many times. Oh, if I go out today and I meet 10 people with costumes and I say, this is a pagan holiday, they're going to look at me like I'm nuts. But if I go out and dress up like John Knox, maybe I can get a point across. I don't know, just a thought. So, got to get back. And, oh, by the way, thank you for sending that, Robbie. Okay, so I promised I'd tell you some things that aren't included in this movie, since it's a movie really turned into a reality show. And if we just concentrate on what the candidates are saying and the media is saying, we're not going to get the whole story, because there's a hidden agenda here. And so I thought I'd just go over some things that I learned, because I've been reviewing this movie, boy, ever since I lived in Rome for 7 years during the 80s. So, I know what I'm talking about a bit here. And when you look behind the scenes, this is where the story really is. And this is what they haven't written out for you. They got this plan, this New World Order plan, and it has to do with also creating a new spiritual religion, which has, is going to be kind of pagan, just like the holiday today, Halloween. And this is all in future episodes coming up. So let's get to some of those things that they're not telling you. So let's look at the Vatican. It controls the United Nations. They're not telling you that. They control the New World Order, the bankers, Islam, terror and wars. And they're doing it in their future movie to bring about a totalitarian world rule, basically to enslave everybody. Now let's go back to Napoleon. Yep, he said this. The Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. Their chief is a general of an army. They got a new one, by the way, now. Not the mere father abbot of a monastery. And the aim of this organization is power. Power in its most despotic exercise. Absolute power. Universal power. Power to control the world by the volition of a single man. Jesuitism is the most absolute of despotisms, and at the same time the greatest and most enormous of abuses. That's part of what Napoleon said. I took a history course in college. I never got that. So they hide everything. Now the Vatican controls the world in its dark New World Order. Why? We told you. Totalitarian rule. Somebody's got to do the dirty work, and that's the Jesuits and the Black Pope. Now, Adolfo Nicholas just gave, he took over for Hans Klovenbach, and now there's another one in there. I forgot his name. Just came in last week. Now, they command the White Pope, who is the guy in power, the guy sitting on, wears a funny hat. And Vatican City, United Nations, and all the governments, the international bankers, the Bilderbergs, the Masons, Knights of Malta, intelligence organizations, they all work together. And one thing they do not like are Protestants. Maybe that's why they have Halloween on Reformation Day. They don't like anybody that wants to worship God without them telling you how to do it. And you can just talk to the Tony Alamo ministry about that one. So they follow this extreme oath. I've read it many times in the past. Read it till I was blue in the face. And go and get it, the extreme oath of the Jesuits. They wage relentless war against all heretics, Protestants, liberals, secretly or openly. Now they want to basically rule the world from Solomon's rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. They're like the SS of the Vatican, a Catholic Church. They maintain order from chaos. They deal in every part of your life, every part. They aim to bring a feudalism as an economic system, similar to what they did in the Dark Ages, with high-powered people like their actors, the Clintons, Trump, the rest of them, owning everything, and us like peasants or slaves, working for them. And pretty soon they don't even need us, because they're going to do, remember what I was telling you in the first half hour, all this, they're going to have robots doing everything. And so basically they can start killing people left and right, because the only reason they let people survive is to work for them. They want to take everything from you. Just look at the Alamo ministry, what they've tried to do there. They're going to do that to you. They're going to take your private property, your inheritance. They'll even try to take your family from you. Now, I've told you many times that the Jesuits condemn freedom of the press. That's why the press is the way it is. They condemn freedom of speech. That's why you can't talk against the Pope, i.e. Tony Alamo. Look, he's spending 175 years in jail. And freedom of conscience, it's not there. So no man has the right to choose his own religion under these people. They don't tell you this in this movie. No man has the right to publish what he feels is the truth anymore. No man has the right to freedom of conscience. So how do they play this movie out? What we're watching now at the elections? They play the Hegelian dialectic on you. They give you what they want you to hear. They make it really interesting. This year even more interesting, so you get so preoccupied in it that you can't see the forest through the trees. I always wondered what that really meant. Can't see, there's a lot of these statements we make. We never really think about what they mean. But anyway, you can't see the forest through the trees. If I use the analogy that I used prior to that, having said that, isn't that interesting? It's always something like, this is how they work in their movie. I am going to give you tax cuts. I am going to give you the best world in the world. Having said that, then they never say what they really mean. We're going to screw you every chance we can, Americans. So watch for that having said that when you talk to people. It's always like the two opposites. Having said that, okay. The secret monita, M-O-N-I-T-A. Pronounce it the way you wish. It's the secret instructions of the Jesuits. They don't tell you this. And it tells them how to conduct their plans, how to write their book, subjugate people, nations to them, by deception. What better way to deceive people than through movies? They've been doing this since the 15th century when they started Jesuit theater. Oh, and that's interesting. So they're good at this. They've been writing these things for hundreds of years. It tells you their book, behind the scenes. It's kind of like going to school to learn how to write a screenplay. You go to their school, they teach you how to deceive and swindle people out of fortunes. Now, look at some of this. Rome, you hear the politicians. Okay, here's what they're going to tell you. We're going to get drugs out of that country, out of your country. We're going to solve the drug problem. We're going to do all of this. Having said that, now here's what they should say, but they never do. Rome is in control of the drug trade. Their bosses are in control, so how can they tell you? The Vatican controls the drug trade. All of the heroin, opium, cocaine, working together with the politicians, everything going around, previously in Colombia. The whole drug trade is run by the Vatican, our government officials, mafia families, and basically the people get the drugs. They get the money so they can fund their wars. But they never tell you that part of it. Having said that, wouldn't it be great if we just got the truth once in a while? Huh? Now, what is the international intelligence community? What is their role? They work for the Jesuit general, and they carry out all these high-level assassinations. They kill anybody who gets away with wants to get in the way of their program. Just look at the actress Hillary Clinton and her husband, Bill, and look at the trail of killings around them. Very interesting. And could it be these latest emails where this case has been opened up against her? Came through the investigation of Abedin's husband, Anthony Weiner, the sex pervert case, former congressman who called himself Carlos Danger and liked to have sex with kids. They were investigating him, and they found emails from Hillary Clinton from her private server on his computer. That's probably national. 650,000 emails on Abedin's computer and Anthony Weiner's computer, privy to everything the Clintons have done. So I think Weiner went to the FBI and said, give me immunity, give me protection here, put me in the witness protection program because the Clintons are going to kill me. I know too much. Now, remember this. They also don't tell you. The American Pope. Who's the American Pope? It's the Cardinal in New York. Probably the most powerful man in the country. Remember Spellman? They used to call it Spelly's War in the Vietnam War, Cardinal Spellman. He's in command of military orders, etc., etc. That's why they have this dinner. He controls the trucking, supermarkets. You would not believe. Also, the Federal Reserve Bank. And remember, these writers that I talk about, they're the real true authors of socialist communism, Jewish Freemasonry, communism in Russia. They used Freemasonry all over the world, from Russia to China, as their way of connecting this new world order together, so each country is playing its own part to bring about this agenda. They blame everything on the Jews in their movie. They blame everything on people like me, movie reviewers who don't follow the propaganda. You know, the ones they like, the movie reviewers they like, are kind of like the guys that promote their movie. You know, the Hollywood promoters. Look, Europe's Roman Catholic now. America's Roman Catholic now. You can say anything you want. But that's the story behind the scenes. Also, we can talk about World War II. That was produced by Rome and the Jesuit control of Hitler. And who basically got the shaft there? Jews. Many Catholics died along the way. But then we have all the Russian Orthodox. Stalin's people killed billions. Might as well call him Joseph Stalin, Father Joseph Stalin. The Jesuits brought in the top Nazi SS soldiers into the CIA. They brought them into NASA. And they're not done yet. They've ransacked South America. They've got Africa, China, Orthodox nations and Buddhist nations. What do you think they went into Vietnam for? How many Buddhists were killed there? Purpose of the Cold War was to kill millions of these heretics, Orthodox Buddhists, and to install their country dictators that will carry out the Inquisition, who are loyal to the Pope. So they work with dictators over there, and they'll work with Democrats or democratic people here. That's what they don't tell you in the movie. So, they are a deceptive bunch. That's for sure. A very deceptive bunch. And it's not going to end. This movie is going to go. I'm trying to tell you, I was privy to some of what's going to happen in the future, and it ain't pretty. Not pretty at all. So anybody, look, people ask me, well, you do the movie, who would you rather see as the new selected president? And I said, listen, we're not going to be happy with either, but I have to tell you this. Just from a purely entertainment point of view, probably rather see Trump. So, you get a bit tired of the Democrats after a while. Then, after 8 years, you get tired of the Republicans and you go back to the other side. So really, it doesn't matter. And there might be some little advantages depending on certain things that people are wanting. But in the end, we're not going to be happy with either candidate. Now that we've installed, or they have installed, a lot of dictators throughout the world, they don't need the Cold War anymore, so they'll start another one. And what was that? The War on Terror. We didn't even get to that yet. And how they created ISIS. How they're creating this climate of fear. And they're building up Russia again. The unification of Europe to eventually bring it down to destroy Western civilization as we know it. And the destruction of the Western Empire. This is all things they have planned in the future. And I've been privy to some of these documents. So, what do? It's a world of darkness. Your true light is where? This is Reformation Day. So think about that. And that one little email Robbie sent me put it all into perspective. So listen, there is a way out. but it isn't going to ever be through what's going on in this world. And there's so much more they haven't told you about. We could talk about the Georgia Guidestones, the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist, for a one world government and religion, limiting population by 90%. What about Agenda 21? That humans are a cancer on this earth, shall be culled in order to maintain balance with nature. Quite a story they got for us, huh? So, on this Reformation Day, think about really where the true answer lies. And use it. And really think about it, because you're going to be barraged on this day with all these people in costumes and pagan holidays. And when you understand that, you can either retreat to your basement and hide, or you can take a stand against it by not going out. You don't have to go out and offend people. You can look within and find the true avenue of hope, the true avenue to a better world, a better place. And I think if you study the Protestant Reformation and its characters, you'll understand what I'm saying. So, started out in a pretty, well, it was my Monday of diversions in the first half hour. Second half hour, I think I got some pretty good points for you. A lot to think about. 8 days before this movie concludes, this portion of the movie, which I call the Presidential Elections 2016. So I'm sure we'll talk about it because, everybody's, no matter how corrupt we know it is, we still are human, and we're going to want to know what happens on that day. So we will report on that. Hopefully have a good Monday and a good Reformation Day. And this is Greg Anthony, and I will see you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.